Hey, what's going on, guys? Brian and George with SME. And George, I don't know, about a week or two ago, we put out a video on Data Catalyst. And in that video, you said, hey, this will not be the only one. There's so much to unpack with Data Catalyst that there's going to be maybe several videos after. So we're back. What are we talking about in this next one?
So the first thing we got to talk about essentially how you get data in Data Catalyst.
Okay.
So I like
Start at the beginning, right?
Yeah, I like to consider Data Catalyst as a managed data lake.
Okay.
So this first step is to connect to your source systems, pull that data in. But not every time are you just going to pull the data in and dump it right there. Sometimes you're going to pull in the metadata first, or just maybe even just the raw profile of the data before it even gets there, so that you can see, is everything going properly? What's going on in this table? And then once you're doing that, then you can start loading the data either with a snapshot or incrementally. So that's what we're going to cover today. So
Perfect.
I've got a demo set up. Let's go
do it. Can't wait. All right.
Today's demo, we are keeping things simple. Let's onboard some data into Data Catalyst. First thing I want to point out is that there are different connections that you can make to your data sources. For your file connections, you can load local files on the server through FTP, SFTP, S3, HDFS, Kafka, and much more. There's your JDBC connector for connecting to your databases. Don't worry. If you don't see your database here, you can add the driver for it in the admin section. You can also load JSON, XML, Scoop, and even mainframe data. So you really do have a lot of options. All right, so let's take a look at the data sources that we are loading today. The first is an IoT demo database consisting of dimensions and fact tables. I have created the connection and have added the technical definition to the catalog, but have not added any data yet. So let's load some data into payment fact. When you load, you specify a date and a time for the partition of the data. Because we will be loading in this data set multiple times, I'm going to set the date to the beginning of the month. Now that we've begun to load, we are looking at the load logs. This will keep us posted on how many records have been loaded and which record type they got loaded as. I will cover the other record types in a second. So here are the data load details. There's a lot of good information here. In the entity properties, you see a snapshot of all of the properties when they were set during the load. This will be important for future debugging. And the load log shows us the step-by-step what happened during the load. So going back to the sources, now let's work on some properties. Going into payment fact again, I'm going to modify the SQL behind the scenes in the source.file.glob to add a where clause where the staff ID is equal to 1. Let's load payment fact again. And I'm going to keep the partition for today's date. So what do you think is going to happen? Well, if you guessed that we would have less rows than the previous load, you are correct. So you have the flexibility when it comes to which data you want to onboard into Data Catalyst. So as we wrap up, I want to talk about one more topic, a little preview into the next video. Let's look at the load log for a sales file that I loaded. What makes this different from our other loads is that we have now bad and ugly records, not just good records. So what are these records? Well, bad records are data that is badly formatted or have characters in it that break the structure. An example would be a field delimiter too much somewhere in your data. Whereas ugly records are data rows that do not pass validation, such as regex rules. What do you think will happen when I query this data? Running a count on this, this matches up with our good record count. And we are only exposed to the good data when we query the data.
The bad and ugly data is still loaded, but they have been stored in separate partitions. I can access these partitions later to review the bad data and remedy any issues with the dataset. So that's the process of onboarding data into Data Catalyst. In our next video in the series, we are going to work with enriching the catalog to get our data prepared for future use. I hope you guys found this video informative. If you want to learn more about Data Catalyst or Qlik, give us a comment on this video or reach out to us at info@smesgroup.com. Until next time, bye guys.